Welcome back to Backstage Pass. I'm Bob Tuvey from EPN Journal. My guest is Jonathan Kazarian, founder of Excel Events. It's a company that specializes in event registration websites and badge printing. The company's been around for more than 10 years, so Jonathan knows how event registration websites should be made and what goes into designing good forms. Along with website design, we also talk about badges and when you should start marketing your event. Before we get started, a big thank you to our partners for their continued support, Vivid Ink and Eventflow. More about them at the end of the episode and, of course, in the show notes. So when it comes to events, most, if not all of them, are going to have some sort of registration, whether but it's normally online these days. Is there anything you see that people are getting wrong with registration websites and the forms you have to fill in?
Hey, there are plenty of things that I see people getting wrong on registration websites. Those are two different questions, right? The website itself versus the form. We can dig into both of them. A couple of things that just drive me berserk on event websites. Right now, people love to vibe code websites, which is great, and I've seen some incredible websites. What they're failing to do is make sure those websites are optimized for SEO and optimized for event discovery within Google search. So there's a bunch of OG tags that can be applied to websites that make them much easier to find. There's basic things like that, which I see a lot of people fail to do on the website building side. That's on the technical side. And then from a design perspective, one of the biggest failures I see a lot of event marketers struggle with is just, are they building this website for returning attendees or to acquire new attendees? And making sure that the messaging is intended for the right audience there. Shifting to the registration side of things, I'll say that this tends to be more in the world of corporate, but when a registration form is designed by committee and ends up with like 24 questions and nobody knows what they're going to do with all that information, you're just killing conversion rate.
Yeah, nobody's going to sit there. Nobody's going to want to sit there and just spend 5, 10 minutes filling out a form, answering questions that people don't really want to answer.
It's not even that they don't want to answer. It's just that like the data is not going to be used. So why even bother? Or do a progressive registration form where, you know, you get them registered and then they can come back and fill out the rest of the information later. But where it really becomes an issue is when you have a form for group registration and you might need more information about the primary buyer, but they might be bringing a group of 8, 10, 12 people. They're not going to know everything about everyone they're bringing. Like cell phone number is probably the most common culprit. Well, cell phone or email. Like let them make the purchase and then go back and add the additional information later. Or even better, let them make the purchase, put in the email address for the people that are coming with them, either at the time of purchase or later, and then have that person fill out the rest of their information on their own.
That's a much better solution because if you're representing a group, and as you say, data is missing. They don't know everybody's phone number.
Well, they might
Of
not
course, it
know who
gets
they're
you
bringing
stressful then.
in. Like you're selling a group package or onboarding an exhibitor 6 months before the event. They don't know who's coming yet.
Without having all the data to hand, I can imagine the person who's filling in the form on behalf of the group is getting so stressed, especially if it takes 10 minutes for each registration process.
Yeah, I mean stress, but they probably just won't even give up. It's like who wants to take that on? It's unnecessary work at that point in the process.
So that's mainly the websites, and we've touched on the forms by saying how long they can take to fill in and unrequired questions that may ask the same thing in 5 different ways. So what makes for a great form design, in your opinion?
I think the design matters a lot less. Like the individual styling elements that should be aligned with the brand of your event. Obviously, it shouldn't feel antiquated. Like if somebody gets to go to 2 or 3 events per year, they want to go to the event that feels like it's the it event. Like this is the event that matters this year. And again, if your event feels like it was built in 1999, it just it's not the one that they want to invest in, that they want to put their travel time in or use their event budget on. Uh, but again, like that's pick an event platform that has a nice modern style and allows you to make some brand enhancements to match your brand, but overall it just should feel like a modern platform. I think it's really about, does the data flow make sense? So like if it's group registration, is the platform built for actually capturing group registration, or is it just tacking on more fields to sort of try to accommodate those other attendees that might be part of the order? And then it's, what are the other things that are absolutely necessary at the time of registration? In some cases, there could be a subset of sessions that need to be required or added on during the initial registration. So really like distill down what's the info you need, what's the bare minimum that we need at the initial time of registration, and make sure it looks half decent. I'm not going to tell you that like a blue button has such, 9% higher conversion rate. There's some data behind that, but at the end of the day, there's a bunch of other factors that are more important.
I can see companies like Amazon who spend so much time checking the colors, the shape, and they can see that there's a massive difference between
But
a
here's
blue and a
here's the difference with Amazon. There is no form, right?
true.
It's
Yeah.
one-click checkout with Amazon. And actually, when it comes to the payment side of things, there's, if you're using Stripe, Stripe essentially has one-click payment checkout at this point. So like there's things that you can do and pick an event platform that facilitates those mechanisms of checkout, but it's a different buying experience. It's not consumer, it's registration, not e-com.
Yeah. Well, the reason I mentioned it is because you did mention, changing the color slightly, but
Yeah.
for a company the size of Amazon, that's going to make a massive difference. But if you're
Well, it's also,
doing
it's like
an event,
the decision is which laundry detergent am I buying, not how am I going to spend these 4 days in April flying across the country. So my buying criteria is significantly different for a small purchase on Amazon versus where I'm putting significant dollars, time, travel, time away from my family, all of those different factors.
so basically it's much better to actually optimize the form itself, the questions you're asking, and then worry over whether the button should be bigger, smaller, different color.
Well, yeah, but at that point, it's like what matters first and foremost is, did you convey the right value prop in terms of why somebody should attend, who should attend, what they're going to get out of it? Is it going to be worth their time? They're making all of those decisions before they even click into your registration form.
And of course, if you're going to make a form that's really, really long, you're going to lose them really, really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it has to work. There has to be no barriers to checkout, right? If somebody hits an error during checkout, some data field validation issue, it's a roadblock. They may leave and they may never come back. Obviously, your registration platform should have cart abandonment and recapture built into it. But to me, these things are table stakes. Don't overcomplicate the process. Pick a platform that makes it easy and makes it easy for your data model, your attendee model, and then focus on your messaging. Focus on the people that you want in the room.
Do you feel also that people are making any mistakes with badges? Because that's also, I'm not sure how important badges are, but they seem to be always required. You turn up, you do your whatever it takes at the welcome desk, that they call it registration desk still, which I think is a mistake. But do you find that badges are either over designed or not communicative enough? Because who is the badge for at the end of the day?
First of all, I completely agree that on-site registration shouldn't be called registration. Registering is what you do in advance of the event. Checking in is what you do on site. I like welcome desk as a term as well. In terms of badge design, I mean, I think it's again like keep it simple, make the first name really big. Um, I prefer badges that are RFID badges that don't have a big bulky QR code on them. It just makes for a much cleaner look. If you have a high profile event, expensive tickets, print headshots on the badges. That's a great security measure. Again, as is RFID, because much harder to replicate an RFID badge than it is to replicate a QR code badge. But more of it is around the operations on site. How do you get people in the door? Do you want kiosk check-in? Are you greeting each person? What's your policy around reprints? How is the badge going to be used throughout the event in terms of session check-in or gamification or lead capture. It's really thinking about all those different factors of essentially how important is this badge for the event and for the other interactions we're going to have, or is it just basically a lanyard and sort of a visual identifier throughout the rest of the show?
Yeah, is it a visual identifier or is it just another way of mentioning the sponsor?
Yeah, I would say I tend to see the sponsor mentions more on the lanyard than the badge itself.
Maybe it's a. I've seen badges where you do have to look a little harder to see the person's name,
Yeah,
and
I would say that's poor badge design,
yeah,
right? Like at least the first name should be easy because like if you think about what makes somebody remember a conversation, you read any of these like sales books and it's repeat the person's name, repeat the person's name. If you meet somebody, some people are really good at remembering names, others aren't. And just make it easy for people to have that conversation to see the person's name during the conversation, to come, like when they end the conversation to say the person's name again. If the name is the first name is there and it's large, it just makes it even easier to do that. And then as you're thinking about event design, you're thinking about how can I make this event memorable? And all of those little things factor into how long and how significant that memory of your event is for each of those attendees.
yeah. It's sometimes it's the small details that you think aren't important are actually very important.
Yeah.
And I would appreciate having large names on badges, especially a big first name. I don't remember names. I'm really terrible at remember people's names. So seeing a name of the person on a badge really, really helps me out.
Same. Same.
So let's move away from that for a little bit. Um, so Excel Events, 11 years in doing this. So you've
Yeah.
got broad range of experience. Was there some point during these 11 years you thought, no, that's it, it's not working, something's gone horribly wrong, and I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah. I think everybody in the events industry has felt that way in 2020. So we're not unique there, except that we pivoted to virtual very quickly. So the downturn was short, um, a matter of a couple of months where we had to like figure out how to make payroll and get through it. But we saw the light at the end of the tunnel very quickly. And then it all happened again when the big boom of virtual evaporated and we shifted back to in person, which frankly I was very excited about. Like in person's our bread and butter. That's what we started with and that's what we love and bringing people together face to face. So but it was a shakeup, right? Like event technology played a massive role in virtual events. It was the venue itself, and in-person events, it's grown in importance, but you can run an event. Well, I shouldn't say that. You could run a very small event with sheets, right? A large conference you're not going to pull off without event technology, but it's not every element of the experience like it is in virtual.
I guess in a way it's now become just another tool in the toolbox, especially if you've got a large conference, not everybody can get there. You can have a virtual component to it.
Yeah, you could. And plenty of events do that and do those hybrid events. But it's more about what's the experience you're creating for attendees. And what I think has happened is the move towards virtual reshifted how we think about technology's role within events. Whereas before virtual, it was kind of like an optional component. And today it's a larger part of the experience than any other like individual piece like decor, lighting, or sound. Well, anything like that, because it's the first experience that somebody has, whether it's the event website, the registration process, getting in there and networking with other attendees, the mobile app, that on-site check-in experience, and then post-event. So given it's the first and last touch point that attendees are going to have with your event, it is playing so much larger of a role today. And it's been nice to see that shift in the way that event planners, event marketers uh, think about technology.
I was going to ask what the turning point would have was for you, but I guess we've covered that because lockdown disappeared. people went back to face, and next thing you know, you're back doing your core business.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of ups and downs throughout that period, but we're back doing what we love doing, yeah.
Okay, so we just mentioned technology. I don't think anybody can do have a chat these days without mentioning AI. I mean, it's everywhere. It's in everything,
Yeah.
whether it needs it or not. How do you feel about it?
Look, I mean, we use it extensively. We run our business using various AI solutions. It significantly accelerates our development process. But at the end of the day, I think there's more chatter around the way that AI should be incorporated into software than people are actually like asking about. Like we analyze all of our sales calls. People might ask about AI because it's part of an RFP, but there's not a here's a business process we're trying to solve, and we think AI could be useful in it, or even here's a business problem we're trying to solve that we hear and see, and AI is the best solution for it. So I'm very pro AI. I'm not pro trying to force a solution without a true problem. So where it makes sense to be used, it should be used, but it shouldn't be used and product focus shouldn't be shifted towards it just because it's the new shiny thing.
So it really should bring something to the business, to the product or to the service, not simply be slapped on because AI is a great marketing term these days, but actually
Yeah,
fulfill a
exactly.
proper
Like
function.
I think any company that is not extensively using AI today is going to fail because they're not going to know what tool sets are available to them. That said, it doesn't mean that every industry needs it forced into the product.
As I say, it does feel sometimes like, seeing as everybody's talking about it, it's a good marketing term to say that your product features AI, where it may not need it, or it just makes it overcomplicated, or all the overheads of making sure it's not hallucinating and telling people the wrong thing.
Yeah, although it's gotten a lot better in that world, and there's a lot that companies like ours do to make sure that the AI isn't hallucinating and that there's redundancy in checks and evals in place to validate the outputs um and we incorporate AI into our product as well. It's not like AI isn't replacing a website. It's not replacing a registration form. It's a tool to help attendees find the best sessions to attend. But it's these sort of little things right now where it comes into play. It's not a seismic shift in the way that organizers are running their events, at least not today.
I do feel it's AI's moving into the background a little bit more now. It's becoming part of the stack, as it were. It's not, you don't always have to interact with an AI, but it can work in the background doing things. It could be almost said the best AI system is the one you don't know you're using.
Well, I think that's true of all software. I think the best software gets out of your way, and it doesn't matter the underlying technology, which coding stack it's used, which database engine, which AI model. It doesn't matter. What matters is this making my day-to-day work more efficient?
And
That's the problem that
is it making the attendee registration more efficient? Is it, or just making it happen better? It could get in the way as opposed to making things better.
And as could anything else in technology, right? Like a registration form can have a broken text validation. Every piece of technology can make things better or make things worse. And it should, all of this should be approached when it comes to actually putting a product in production. It should be approached from what is the problem we're trying to solve, and then what's the best tool set to help us solve that problem. Not here's a tool set for the sake of having a tool set.
So in other words, as I mentioned earlier, don't simply slap it on because you think everybody's got it, I better have it. If it
Right.
hasn't got a genuine use that makes things better or improve the experience of whatever it is you're doing, the event, the registration, form filling, if it's not there providing a benefit, don't put it on.
Yeah, maybe you talk about something like form filling. First of all, that would have to come from the customer's AI, Claude or ChatGPT anyway. But why would they? Because that data is already in Chrome and has been for a decade, right? So it's nothing new there. And AI is not determining which events I should go to, booking me an event and travel without my consent. At the end of the day, I need to agree anyway, whether it's me agreeing in the event platform or in the AI tool, like it's still one click.
Okay, let's finish up with it's a one question, but I'm sure there's more to it. When it comes to marketing your event, to make sure that you are getting people interested, people are actually going to visit the registration website and actually express an interest in some way. Is this something you would recommend that people do when it comes to marketing their event?
Going back to the drawing board and saying, are we marketing this site towards existing attendees or are we using it to try to acquire new attendees? That's first and foremost. I think too many events are too broad in their messaging. The best events tend to be very niche anyway, focused on a specific audience. Don't hold back on advertising that and reiterate that message. Say who, say what level, um, say why they're going to be there, what they're going to get access to. Just focus on and by what they're going to get access to, I don't mean which sessions. I mean how their career is going to progress and give them the messaging that they can bring back to their company to explain how their attendance at the event is going to help progress the company.
So it's almost like an emotional thing. Is okay, this washing
Yeah,
powder will
it's
make your t-shirt even whiter, but if it feels better when you put it on, if it makes you feel like you're wearing something amazing, that's the difference that you truly want to sort of convey. So not just simply the mechanics of going to the event or what is there, but what is the benefits, the personal excitement, the everything that you gain from being there. This is what you have to convey.
well, yeah, but it's essentially doing that through the lens of like fear of missing out. If I don't go to this event, how is this going to adversely impact my career? Why does everybody else have this super soft t-shirt and I don't?
Well, it's a lot of marketing, especially for our household products, are very much like that. Clothing is very much like that. This is what everybody's wearing these days. So yeah, the fear of missing out um, by not going to the event is probably quite a powerful marketing method.
It's a very powerful marketing method.
Do you feel people are actually marketing their event in time? Are they sort of having enough lead time up to the event?
I think initial registration flows launch fast enough. I think there's not enough. Look, the time to start marketing your event is during your last event, right? You should be heavily incentivizing attendees to register for next year during the current event because those people become your biggest advocates. They're the ones who are going to bring 10 friends with them or colleagues or whatever it is. Um, so in that case, I would say I don't see enough events doing that. I'd love to see more of that. Where I would say the biggest timing gaps tend to happen, if you look at like the amount of work that goes into planning an event, it's sort of like a steady climb, right? And then 30 days out, it just goes parabolic. And I think the same kind of happens with like, we've all planned dozens or hundreds of events. It happens the same every time. And the more that we can bring forward, the better. Like one thing that I wish I saw more organizers do is get all of their content ready to launch their event app sooner. And even if it's like basic stuff like your info desk, your know before you go, things that are going to be fairly static, that info far in advance. Like this isn't that essay that you have to turn in college and you're down to the last minute. Get prepared, get your content together, get it launched so that attendees can get in there and start networking as soon as possible. Like that's where you're going to drive more excitement earlier so that you're not bombarded with last minute registrations.
Yeah, because if you can leave it to last minute, that's when the sets in, and I think people can tell.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll leave the last word to you. Is there anything else you would like to comment on?
No, I mean, this is a fun conversation. I think if anyone wants to chat further or look for more information, find me on LinkedIn, Jonathan Kazarian. or check out our website, excelevents.com, and I'd love to hear from anybody.
A huge thanks to Jonathan for his time, and a big thank you to our partners for their continued support. Vivid Inc., PR and social media marketing specialists for the event industry, and Eventflow, the secret weapon for event teams who've had it with PDF exhibitor manuals. However, before we finish up, how do you feel about registration website design? I would love to hear what you think. So please head over to EPM Journal Community, links in the show notes, and find out how you can share your thoughts. Thank you so much for listening.